After beating the West Indies 3-2, South Africa now turned their attention to Ireland. Now, we start with the ODI series. I would have preferred it the other way around to keep the momentum going, but unfortunately, we will be doing the ODIs first. So, South Africa is going to be seeing a different team, a different format. I'm not so sure about how different the team will be because, based on Rassie van der Dissen's press conference, it comes across as though South Africa have to pick their best team so that they can get wins. And that's going to be the important factor because now with the new system and the way the ICC have dealt with everything and the new rules in place, you have to basically qualify for the World Cup and you have to win your games. So ultimately, every single game becomes a must win. So today on this show, we'll be previewing the ODI series between South Africa and Ireland. The guys on the panel will be giving their teams for who they want to see based on the results for each particular game. We'll probably switch them around as the games go on and the results change. But ultimately, this is the team that we'd like to see. Aditya will be with us today. We'll have Umpo as the usuals, and then we've got cricket connoisseur Aaron, and we've got Justin on the show today, who is a debutant on this channel. So from an Ireland perspective, we have some representation, guys. So thank you to everybody that has been DMing us and giving us people in the chat and who they would like to see. We can't bring everybody on this particular show, but we'll try to spread it out over the weeks to pick who we would like and who we would want to see going forward. But today, it's the preview for the ODI series between South Africa and Ireland. And I'm so excited about this one. We're going to be chatting about all of this on the show today. So buckle up. Let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid. This is my co-host Aditya, and these are all my panelists on the show today. We will be talking about everything that has to do with the ODI series between South Africa and Ireland, or Ireland and South Africa, however you want to hashtag it. And normally the home team goes first, so that's how it goes going forward. So let's get into this conversation. I'm really excited about this. I've uploaded all your teams on the stream as well, so you guys will be able to chat about it in depth. Aditya has an interesting one, so he's probably going to go first from a South African perspective. But let's get into it. Let's start the show like we always do. I just would like to know what you want out of the series, because from a South African perspective, me personally, the ODI series is something or the ODI team is something we need to really, really work on. I don't think we found all the right pieces in the right places for the ODI side from a South African point of view. 2023 is still a long way away. I think a lot of guys can still put up their hands for this particular side. Some of the guys that are probably going to be in the so-called first team might not even see 2023 World Cup, or maybe they will. We'll see how fit they can stay, because age, dependable on the person, of course. It doesn't really matter from that perspective. And you don't really know. Age is, there's guys that are going to be maybe 30, 33, 34 by that time, but that's still old enough, I think, to dominate. I don't think that there's a lot of old guys in this team to say, hey, no, you're not old enough or you're not young enough to play. I think everybody still in the South African setup is in the hat for that 2023 World Cup. But if there are guys that are maybe towards the end of their careers, and there's other guys younger that are maybe putting up their hand and really dominating domestically, I don't know, maybe we'll see a different team completely to the one we'll see that walks out against Ireland. Also, it's about thinking about the T20 World Cup and prioritizing there too. So I don't know what we're going to be doing with regards to that, and how much ODI cricket can actually help you in T20 cricket. Myself and Aditya did a show on this. We spoke about it in depth about how can the ODI system actually work, or the ODI format actually help you with T20 cricket and preparation over there. But there's a lot of things we need to discuss on this channel, and I hope everybody can get some insight into it. So let's start with Aditya. Let's go around the room. And so I'll give it to Aditya, Paul, then Justin, and then we can go to Aaron. And let's chat about what you'd want out of the series from your team's perspective. it's nice that we can end off with Ireland, of course, and then we can go straight into the Irish teams and etc. and what South Africa needs to be wary of. So Aditya, let's start with you.
Well, hello everybody. Hello Justin. Welcome to the show. Um, I'm representing South Africa for this series as always, I guess. To me, the priority would be for South Africa to give game time to players that haven't really played through the West Indies leg of this two series journey for the team, and personally, even though there's now this qualification system where every game is important, as Owen Morgan said, there's no such thing as a dead rubber anymore. Every game counts for something. So in saying that, South Africa will be tempted to field the strongest side for the series, because obviously the priority would be to win. But in saying that, it's equally important to give uh, exposure to players who don't get as much game time, because they're not always in the first team. And personally, I think this is an important platform that South Africa can use to really get a better sense of who their players are going forward. Because KG Rabada will not be able to play every game, every series. Quinton de Kock may not be able to play every game in every series, and so it's important to ensure that their replacements are also confident enough to be able to put in the performances when required.
Hi everyone. Look, with the Cricket World Cup Super League, first and foremost, this team needs to win, and you need to try and win all three. Not saying the way I'm not looking down on Ireland, but I do think a team of South Africa's caliber should be able to win all three. You need to set yourself a platform in this Super League. You don't want to be like the World Test Championship and leave it till late to come back in. And so this presents to you an opportunity to get some proper points on the board. And I think that's something that South Africans need to be look at very importantly, actually. But with Aditya, I'd like to see the guys who haven't played in the West Indies get more game time. I think you'll see with my team later. I want the all-rounders to play. I want this team lined with all-rounders, because I think that's going to be something that South Africa need to get used to, and I think this is one of the best ways to do that. It also gives you an opportunity to see guys in situational cricket, and also getting guys back to form. So I think if you like that, for me, that's the most important thing: trying to get guys back to form, giving guys an opportunity, and also figuring out some combinations that could work going forward. You've got 2 years until the World Cup. You need to start with some sort of a longish plan. And I know because of the way the bubbles worked, you didn't want to take some, because I would have loved other guys to be in Ireland, but because of red zones and everything else, we can't get the guys there. So look, the team that we have there is probably going to be as close to the 15 that's going to probably end up at the World Cup, unless some of the youngsters come through. But I would have loved to give youngsters an opportunity against Ireland, like the last time in South Africa when they played in Benoni. 3 guys made the debuts: Themba Bavuma, Dwayne Pretorius, and Andile Phehlukwayo made their debuts in Benoni. And like Wayne Parnell was given an opportunity. So it's things like that you want to see. You want to see guys getting a lot more opportunities. So hopefully we'll get to see guys we haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm. So Justin, before you jump in, I just want you to also give a quick introduction to yourself and where you come from, etc., and what you do for a living, and why are you such a big cricket fan, particularly an Ireland cricket fan as well.
Yeah, well, like everyone else has said, it's really great to be here. My name's Justin Smythe. I live in a little place called Agadui, which is a little village here in Northern Ireland. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from Ireland, but I did move over here almost 19 years ago now. Cricket has always been a love of mine, and I think, like most cricket fans, the recognition of the Ireland team really came ahead when we started playing in the World Cup in 2007, and when we beat Pakistan. So it's just grown since then. Cricket-wise, I find that I've been very lucky because, to be fair, over the last 11 years, I've actually been able to do a lot of scoring for Cricinfo on the Island games here in Ireland. And I do the ball-by-ball commentary on the domestic games, the Interpros this year, and the last few years. So it's been great. I've been able to watch a lot of cricket, and the weather this year has actually been pretty good as well. So I'm kind of hoping that over the next couple of weeks we'll get to see some exciting cricket between the two teams.
And from your team's perspective, of course, what would you like to see out of this particular series? I mean, obviously, we're all preparing for the next World Cup, of course.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, this series has now grown in prominence because of the poor series that we had against the Dutch. The truth is that we really needed to have won at least 2 out of the 3 games, if not a clean sweep across the lot. Especially when you see the games that we've got coming up and the games that we've played so far and we've lost. So you would really think that we would need to take the opportunity to actually nick a game the same way as we did against England last summer. And where the guys have been talking before about rotating and bringing in and trying new people, I don't think we're going to have the option of that. We need to play our strongest team, and that's the only chance we're going to have to win.
Now, I know Aaron's smiling behind his filter.
Always am. When am I never smiling, Khalid? First of all, Justin, lovely to meet you. Good to have you on tonight's show. But yeah, in terms of the series, I mean, obviously for long-term viewers of the channel, you know I'm not going to be actively supporting against South Africa. But if you can tell by what's on my shoulders, it is a Warwickshire flag. The best county in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, because we're playing tonight against Worcestershire. And in this series, William Porterfield and Mark Adair are playing for Ireland. So they are definitely going to have my support. 2 absolute legendary blokes. Mark Adair in particular, had him on the podcast. So yeah, in my personal opinion, hopefully, fingers crossed, Ireland do stand a chance of at least winning one of these games. But in terms of the series itself, I don't think that we can go into this underestimating Ireland at all. Look at what they did against us last year at the Ageas Bowl. I mean, Justin alluded to it already. What a fantastic knock that was by Paul Stirling. You look at their top 3, for example, of Paul Stirling, William Porterfield and Andy Balbirnie. All 3 county veterans. Andy Balbirnie, for example, has been playing for Glamorgan for the past couple of seasons, Stirling for Middlesex and Northants, and of course Porterfield for my county of Warwickshire. So they have actually got a decent top order. In addition to that, of course, they've been playing a lot of games in Ireland itself. Justin has also alluded to the Interprovincial Cup, for example. So the likes of Josh Little, the likes of Barry McCarthy, who was the leading wicket taker in that tournament, have actually played quite a bit of cricket recently. So in this series, I think that it's pretty obvious to say South Africa are favourites. They'll be wanting a series victory, of course, Super League points. But you can never underestimate Ireland. Pakistan underestimated Ireland in 2007. England underestimated Ireland in 2011 at the Chinnaswamy. We underestimated them last year. Ireland, out of absolutely nowhere, can click like that and produce these legendary performances. So I'm not going to predict like a 3-0 whitewash or anything ridiculous like that. I hope it's going to be a competitive series, and fingers crossed from an Irish perspective at least, they can put up a good account of themselves heading into this series against the Proteas.
So, Justin, I'm going to go straight into your team, actually, because I want to get to know, obviously, a little bit more about the players that you've selected and the reasons behind you selecting the players that you have. You could just go through it.
Yeah, well, I think, to be fair, there's no disagreeing with who's at the top. Paul Stirling has been in amazing form throughout the whole of the year, and I believe he's still the leading ODI run scorer this year. And to be fair, even the performances that he had in the Netherlands was actually leading the team. The trouble's always been who's going to partner him. And to be fair, if you look at the way that the players have played this year, William Porterfield is in the best form. He scored the most runs, and I think he's right to go in there, number 2. Obviously, you've got the captain at number 3. He's done extremely well over the past 3 or 4 years, but he does need a score. And it'd be great if he could capture some of the form that you saw when he played England. Harry Tector scored his maiden ODI 50 against the Dutch. And at only 20 years old, he's got years and years worth of run scoring ahead and has played really well this year. George Dockrell in at number 5. He didn't probably show his best form in the games against the Dutch, but he's been excellent in the Interpros all year long and led the Leinster Lightning to the title once again. Lorcan Tucker is an excellent wicket keeper, and he really does have all the shots. If he does play, and I expect him that he will, you'll see him coming out of the crease early, and he'll try and put the bowlers off the line. You've then got the 2 spinners, Simi Singh and Andrew McBride. The wickets this year have been taking quite a bit of spin because it has actually been quite dry over here. Plus, they're also good with the bat as well. And then you've got the 3 main bowlers, the bowlers that have done so well this year in the Interpros and again the games against the Dutch. So McCarthy, Little, and Young, that would be the 3 strike bowlers for me.
And I want to know what's the weather like, and what can we expect from a weather perspective, because I think that's going to also change the lineups from all around the board.
Yeah, you're right. But this year the weather has actually been really good. I mean, most of the time you would expect over the summer there'd be quite a few games called off because of the rain. But this year, to be fair, we've only actually had 1 game called off the whole season, which is really unusual for us here. So it means the wickets are a little bit drier than you normally would expect. I think it's going to be that Malahide is always a good wicket, and I'd expect the same. Storman, we were up there a couple of weeks ago for the Interpros, but that was playing pretty good as well. So I think we're in for some exciting cricket.
Awesome. Aaron, yours is basically the same team apart from maybe one.
Yes.
And a guy that I'm a big fan now of and has been on the channel before, of course. So just go take it away.
Well, of course, yeah, I've gone for the exact same top 4 as Justin. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Justin's given them a good enough rap, I would say, with regards to summarising those 4. At number 5, I've gone with Curtis Campher, the man who lives rent-free in my head, as those will know who've been watching the show, with regards to that incredible 58 or 59 it was on debut against England. I think he's a great talent, 22 years of age, can bat, can bowl, can field. He's a fantastic talent. And at such a young age, he has really just, how to say, elevated his status to almost becoming a top name on the Ireland sheet already. The only problem, and I can see why Justin may not have picked him, is because of his injury. He's been out for a month. He wasn't there in the Netherlands ODI series. So whether or not Ireland will be willing to get him straight back into the team or not, I think will be the question. If he is fully fit, if he's looking sharp in the net, he comes in for me, because he is an X factor. Simple as that. Brilliant, brilliant young talent. Cannot say enough good things about Curtis Campher. With regards to the bowling attack as well, this is where I differed slightly from Justin, but again, I can see the logic behind it. Ireland do like to go with 2 or 3 spinners. So for me, I've got Dockrell and Simi Singh. If really desperate, let's say there is a bit more grip, a bit more purchase at Malahide, you've always got Paul Sterling, who can always turn the arm if need be. So that's how I've kind of adjusted for Ireland's, stance towards spin. I just feel like in this series, you'll want Curtis Campher. You will. And he was born in South Africa. Again, so there's that narrative, there's that little background story behind it. He has to play, surely, for the sake of the fans as well. I think we all want Curtis Campher to play. So that is my 11. I think it's a decent squad, actually, for Ireland as well. I must admit, I think it's a strong Ireland squad. The only person I wish we could have seen, and Justin, feel free to disagree with me, but James McCollum. I've always liked him. I think he's a good player. It's just he hasn't been in the best of form.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, to be fair, he has looked good when he's had the opportunity to bat, but he hasn't had a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's going to hold him back this year. And I think that's possibly going to be the same thing around the balance with Curtis Campher as well. Yep. Because obviously, as you said, he's been injured. He's just come back. He hasn't actually had any play time, any game time. So the question is, we know what is good with the bat, but will he be able to bowl? And will he then be able to get through the whole 10 overs? And that's going to be the question. That's why I didn't put him in, to be fair, and kept McBride in instead.
Makes
fair
sense.
Points. Fair points.
Yeah. Perfectly logical, that. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking with the South Africans, by the way, because I've had a little bit of a selection nightmare at the top of the order. So, yeah, looking forward to that, to say the least.
Yeah. Okay, so Aditya, I'm going with you first because you picked two different teams, and you picked one for sunny conditions and maybe some overcast conditions. So, so you picked two teams and went away with it. So let's look at them. I'm looking at the more on the left hand side as you basically that being your team throughout, basically, and then only if there's conditions changing, then maybe the one on the right. But let's go through your first team, and just talk behind what the reasons were for the selections that you made, etc. Just muted.
Right. So the only difference between the two teams is the number 8 position, which I will talk about. The openers are pretty much the same: Janeman Milan and Aiden Markram. I think Quentin de Kock has had a good run in the West Indies in both Tests and T20s, and perhaps he could be rested. We've over the last year we've talked a lot about Quentin de Kock feeling the drain of the bio-bubble life, and perhaps he's in a good space mentally with his cricket. So I don't see the need to play him at the top of the order. Janeman Milan hasn't got a game at all in the West Indies, and I think it's not healthy for him to be one of South Africa's top white ball players and not get game time. Temba Bavuma, very important series for him. I think it's time for him to start racking up the big hundreds. He needs to score those 150s, 160s on a regular basis, given that he's batting in the top 3. Rassie van der Dussen, Mr. Consistent, averaging 80 on ODI cricket. He's probably the only one in the team who's played club cricket in Ireland before, so he understands the conditions, and his press conference indicated that he did have a good knowledge of what to expect. Kyle Verreynne, again, did very well in the series against Pakistan. Very good wicketkeeper, as we often talk on this channel. He's possibly the best wicketkeeper in the country. So it's important to give him an opportunity as well. Again, he's been on the sidelines for way too long. It's important that he gets game time regularly. David Miller, Killer Miller, we know what he can do, and he had a great series against Pakistan, but not so much against the West Indies. This is an opportunity for him to get some time in the middle and really rediscover his hitting ability. I think if he can sort of contribute to that last sort of 10-run and over surge towards the end of an innings, I think it'll do his confidence a great deal of good. Wayne Mulder, not played a whole lot of white ball cricket for South Africa, but an incredibly important part of the setup going forward. Because if he can deliver the sort of consistency that he's been delivering in tests in the white ball setup, I think he's going to be an asset. And I'd say the same for his batting. I think if he can show us that he can really score quick 30s and 40s and perhaps even 50s, he's going to be a real asset for South Africa. Number 8. So I've selected Keshav Maharaj for sunny conditions because, as Justin said, Justin Narron said that Malahide, you never know, you may get a little bit of grip. And Keshav Maharaj, being the experienced pro that he is in Test cricket, he can certainly deceive the Irish, because I'm not sure how comfortable they might be facing top quality spin. Combine that with Tabraiz Shamsi, who's in the form of his life at the moment. There could be a handful in those middle overs between overs 21 and 40. Lizard Williams, very impressive against Pakistan and should be playing more cricket regularly. So I'm very excited to see how he goes if he gets picked. And Lungi Ngidi, again, I think he needs a bit of a confidence boost. He got hammered in the West Indies. I'm not sure he was particularly confident even after that last bowling display of his. So I think game time against Ireland will help him sort of rediscover his form there. And I picked Tukwaya at number 8 instead of Maharaj, cloudy conditions, because there the additional seamer will be more helpful than the additional spinner. So
apologies for
to work on his batting.
Yeah. Apologies for the T20 typo over there. I had to do that graphic. I had to do the graphics very quickly so that I can get it all done. Paul, I'm going to ask you a question with a twist to your selection. The question is that of, I know you picked the team that you have picked, but if we go with Boucher and what Boucher said, Quinton de Kock plays, if Quinton de Kock plays. So I want you to first explain why you'd play this team, but if Quinton de Kock plays, who falls out of that top order in your eyes? Afterwards, you can answer that question.
Okay, so I'll answer that first. If Quinny plays in my 11, Aiden Markham sits out because, as Aditya said, the other man hasn't gotten a game. So I know Aiden's going to play in the T20s, so I give him rest. Because the reason why I selected this team, and I'll go into this team, is largely based on rest. I need to give guys rest, guys who have and also try to give guys who are off form into form. So I'll explain the decision making. I didn't consider sunny conditions. I thought I'm under the assumption that it's going to be overcast, and so in that situation, I want an extra seamer. But if it's sunny, I'll tell you who goes out, which bowler goes out. But I think it's largely similar to what Aditya did. For me, Yanaman and Aiden are the guys I want. To rotate with Quinny going to the World Cup. So each series you might get a different opening combination, but largely it's between those three. So when India come, it might be Quinton and Aiden, or Quinton and Yanaman. But I would like to rotate those guys because that's my top. Those are my openers going to the World Cup in 2023, and that's not going to change unless somebody comes through. Timber 3, as always, just like he does domestically. He's been injured, so we want to see some runs, and he needs runs very badly for this team. We want captain's knocks, essentially. That's what I'm looking for. Rassi at 4, Mr. Consistency. He's one guy I'd like to rest, but I don't want to see Heinrich Klaassen come into the side. So those are the things. I need someone who can, if things fall apart, can hold it off, and I think he's the guy. I know Heinrich's played well in ODIs, but 4 is a little bit too high for him. Maybe Cal could bat it 4, I don't know. But that was my thinking. I was like worried. I was like, wait, I don't want Heinrich in this setup going forward. David Miller, as always. I wanted David Miller at 5, not at 6. I think David can build beautiful innings if he comes in early. And so I thought, let's give him that opportunity. Carl being new, I want to give Carl the gloves. I want Carl to just enjoy his time out in the middle. I know he scored a lot of runs in that middle order against Australia. I want that type of performance. So between him and Miller, depending on the situation of the game, they can swap. And then Vian Mulder, ideally for me, should be batting in the top 6, but because he's new in the international cricket, I'll put him at 7. I want to see how he does and how he bats. And then obviously I wanted Andile to play, guys. He's the best middle overs bowler in ODIs for South Africa, similar to Bray Shamsi. I need him there at all costs, and so I want him to bowl in this one because I think he's a really great white ball overs bowler. And I put him at 8, so we don't need a lot of his batting. So if you come and tell me that his batting is whatever it is, go look at his bowling stats and ODIs for South Africa and come back and tell me you'll exclude him as a quick. Keshav Maharaj, I want to give Keshav 3 games as the primary spinner. That's the reason why I picked this side. I want to give Bray Shamsi rest, so he can be arrested for the T20s because I think that's a more important assignment for South Africa right now. And I want to see Keshav as the leading bowler in conditions that look like England, where you may be needing only one spinner. So I want to just see how he looks because he's a very good white ball bowler and he deserves that opportunity. This number 10 is the one that was a little bit tough for me when Khalid asked me, because Anna, I don't know the status of Anna's bruise, if they'll rest him, because essentially if Anrich is fit, Anrich comes in, Kagiso doesn't, because I want to give Kagiso rest. Lungin Giti, I do not want him to play in the ODIs. I need him to rest. I need him to clear his head. I need him to just take a step back, and then maybe in the T20s we can try it again, because I think I just sometimes when a guy's off form, playing them more is not going to help. So for me, I just want Lungi to just take a breather for a bit. I also want Kagiso to take a breather, but The other problem is you've got Björn Hendricks in the side on tour. I don't think a lot of people will be happy to have Björn Hendricks leading the side, so I needed somebody with a little bit of experience, and unfortunately, it would be Kagiso. In the T20s, you can give Kagiso a bit of rest for a couple of games, but for now, just because of the way this team is set up and Lazard coming in at 11, I just need someone with experience. If Anrich is fit, Anrich comes in. If if he isn't, KG will start, and then maybe Lungi can bowl in the last ODI. But I just need someone who I can rely on, and Timber can rely on to take wickets when they need to. Yes, he's got Andile, who's really good at taking wickets in the middle, but you need that. But if I need another spinner, I would drop Andile and I'd bring in Shamsi. Just because you need a two-spinner thing. I want to give Vian Mulder as much opportunities. And because Timber's played with Vian at the Lions, I think he's more comfortable with Vian as an all-rounder. If there was another captain of the side, let's say it was Keshav leading the side, I'd take out Vian and put Andile just because of the fact you wanted someone more experienced. But because Timber knows what Vian can give him, it's a little bit easier to drop Andile. But I need Andile to play this series. It's very important going to the World Cup because he should be part of the 15-man squad in that T20 setup.
So I want to ask you, Mpo, who are you, from Ireland perspective, who are you most wary about? Who strikes fear into your heart when you see the team?
Into my heart. The two openers. For me, it's if you can't break that partnership, you are going to cry. And then Curtis Camphor, I know what he can do. He's a Joburg boy. Everybody knows who Curtis Camphor is. And so that's an interesting thing if he doesn't play, because if he does play, it's going to be quite interesting because Vian Mulder will be playing against his schoolmate and Kagiso will be playing against the same guy they played with the first team with. So all three of them is just going to be a lovely reunion. George Dockrell is also pretty good for me. And Simi Singh I really do like. I think he's a really great player. So for me, the spinners, and you can see where Ireland's going with this. Their strength is in that little pocket. But obviously up front, those two, if Sterling and Porterfield go buck wild, we're going to be chasing leather for a very long time.
When they go wild.
And I think it's a perfect time for me to plug, Aaron. You like my plug, so go ahead and go to the exclusive section on this particular channel, and you see the interview with Curtis Camphor, his reasons for why he left, all of those type of things. You'll get that all on the channel over here as well. Okay, Aditya, for you, let me ask you the same question as Mpo, because the spinners, and I think the fact that Ireland have spinners is very important, because I think in white ball cricket today, those are the secret weapons that everybody owns. It's not secret anymore, but it's the weapons that you need to have to really dominate this format and have good spinners. When it comes to a guy like Yanaman Malan, we know that he has a little problem with spin, and he's said it in the past to myself as well, I think in an interview as well. So it is something he's been working on. So Aditya, from your perspective, if Ireland beat South Africa here, what do they need to do from that perspective? If they to give South Africa a run for their money, or in Aaron's words, when South Africa beat, when Ireland beat South Africa, what will they be doing to do so?
Well, the top order, the top six has to click. And obviously, Paul Sterling and William Porterfield will be key to that. Paul Sterling, absolute legend in white ball cricket. He also plays in the PSL, and he's developed quite a reputation there for himself. So, and I'm sure that he must be very excited for this challenge, to be playing a top team in Ireland. So Paul Sterling, Porterfield, and Curtis Camp. I think again that narrative will be quite interesting. To see him play against Vian Mulder, KG, and Temba and everyone. So that's there. And I think from the bowling point of view, they're going to rely on choking South Africa with spin, because it's hard to imagine wicket-to-wicket bowling really troubling South Africa too much. But I do think that they're going to be tested with spin if the conditions are conducive to it. And we've seen in the Pakistan series as well as at the West Indies series to a certain degree, where where a rotational strike hasn't been particularly a strong suit for South Africa. So this is an opportunity for them to work on that, but that is a hole in their game that I believe Ireland can exploit.
Now, Just Coley says over here in the comment section, Alan must go with 1 seam and 4 spinners. But Justin, from your perspective, he's obviously being tongue in cheek over here. But Justin, from your perspective, do you think that's a strategy that Ireland have? They're aware of South Africa's troubles in the past with spin, or do you just think that this is the type of approach that they want to have in cricket generally going into the World Cup?
Well, I think if you look at the team that I picked, you've actually got 4 spinners in there anyway, and 3 seamers. So, I mean, that is fairly much covered. But I think to be fair, the bowling attack, if you've got McBrien and Simi on at the same time, they go through their overs really, really quickly. So before you know it, that's 5-10 overs gone, and the chase really, or the scoring rate really hasn't gone anywhere. But it's going to be the seamers that are going to need to drive the performance and get the early wickets. If you look at the tour against the Dutch, Josh Little played really well. So did Craig Young. But Barry McCarthy, he was a real big disappointment. And I think for Ireland, they need all 3 of the seamers to actually be on form and to be taking wickets and getting those early wickets. And so if you look at the performances throughout the year, where we played against the UAE, when we played against Afghanistan, when we played against the Dutch, there wasn't one team performance in the lot. There was great individual performances, but it never came together as a team. And that's what Ireland need to build on throughout the South Africa and the upcoming Zimbabwe series as well. And the brilliant thing is, I mean, this is the first time that we're going to have international teams over here for 2 years, because we had no one last summer. We're going to be able to get 560 people into Malahide as well. So that's going to be a sellout. 500 people at Stormont, that's going to be a sellout. And it's just going to be great to actually see international cricket back. And if the guys like Paul Sterling, like Porterfield, like George Dockrell can lift their level to play at that length, we have a great chance of nicking 1 game, maybe even 2.
So from a South African perspective, who do you need to stop? Who are you most scared about when it comes to the South African team? Obviously, we know the KGs of the world and those type of guys, but is there someone else that you're a little bit wary about, that you like, we need to stop him?
Well, to be fair, we've spoken about it already. Rassie van der Dussen played over here in Northern Ireland for a couple of years for Carrick. And he knows the wickets, as you've said. He knows the players. And he had a great reputation here. And people loved watching him bat. So I'd expect the same thing when we get to see him in a couple of days' time.
And Aaron, the Irish people might be fired up after maybe hopefully a Conor McGregor win the night before. So, from your perspective, from South Africa's perspective, I know you also a South African fan as well at heart. Your heart is actually green, and you just don't want to tell people that on live YouTube streams. But we know that you're a Protea at heart. So, who needs to perform from South Africa's perspective, and how do Ireland stop them, the guys that you picked?
Well, you're Khalid, absolutely correct. Okay, you're South African in the heart. Okay, right, you're. But no, anyway, with regard, great accent. Anyway, with regards to the old debate there, quality, you'll never hear anything like it again. I can do the Irish if you want as well, viewers. But with regards to this series, what was the question again, Khalid? I've completely lost it. Topic there. What with regards to who I'm looking out for? Yeah, from a South African perspective, I don't want to go too cliche. Kahiso, obviously, Quinton, obviously. Janneman Malan for me. I've always rated Janneman Malan really, really highly. Great player of pace as well. And it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this series, to be honest. Hasn't played a lot of cricket, played a bit of second fiddle almost to quite a few openers in South African cricket. But the fact is, I think this is going to be a really good series for him to kind of go to the next level. I know that Ireland, a lot of people say, they're not exactly England or, India or Pakistan or any of these lot, and just, same reaction. But the fact is, this is international cricket. Ireland are a decent side. They're a competitive side as well. And they're a good side. And in fact, does anyone want to hear the Irish accent? Because it is a lovely accent.
We know it.
We believe it.
Exactly.
Let's save you for this one.
All right, fine, boys. That's fine. No problem. I think it's class. I'm quite good at accents. Can't lie, boys. But you found out my hidden talent tonight. And yeah, should be a good series.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Aditya, okay, let's go with your final words and your prediction for the series.
For the ODI series, I predict a 2-1 win to South Africa, and this is as I said earlier. I think this is an important series for a couple of players. I want to see Themba perform in this series, and he needs to develop that game plan where at number 3 he can score big hundreds. I'd say the same for Aiden Markram. Previously, I'd said that Markram should perhaps use Rohit Sharma as a reference because there are similarities in the way that they sort of attack bowlers. And I think somewhere with the beautiful 30s that he makes, he can convert it a bit more if he gets a bit more exposure. So Aiden Markram, Themba Bavuma, key players for me. And I'd want to see Kyle Verreynne get selected for the game and make a sizable score as well.
Bo?
I think Aditya's hit the nail on the head. For me, the last time Themba played Ireland, he scored 100. We want that as well again, and we want quite a few of them. What I want to see is the game plan for this team. Bacha has always said he wants to play aggressive cricket. I want to see how they're going to try and aim at scoring upwards of 300 consistently. And so this is one of those series where you can build the framework to be like, this is how this group of batsmen scores 300 on a consistent basis, what the marks are, what the different targets are at each section, because I think that for me is going to be quite interesting to see, because that's where the game is going and we need to follow it. I do need runs from Themba. I do need runs. Aiden, I don't need runs because I think he's proven himself to be in the setup. But I think Yanaman's going to have to prove himself against spin. And the great thing about this is that he's got time. There's a lot more balls. I think Rassi said in the press conference yesterday in T20 you get like 20, 30 balls. Here he's got an entire world of balls that he can face and he can set his innings up. And I want to see that. David Miller as well. I need David Miller to score me a 100 reminiscent of that one in Australia with Faf du Plessis, where he literally stayed with Faf the whole way through, batted for about 15, 20 overs and got a very good 100. I want that type of a performance because I think he has it in him. And I also want to see Keshav Maharaj and Lizard Williams because I think those guys need game time. And then I want to see Vian Mulder bowl in these pictures because I think his style of bowling, the swing bowling that he can get, I think he can be very much of a handful. That being said, I'm not going to go with the 2-1. I think as South Africa, you need to set yourself a target to be able to beat teams lower than you in the table. Not the rankings, the table right now. And so you need to be able to take advantage of series like this, and so it should be a 3-0 if we can bat them out the game every game if we wanted to. So I'd like to see that happen, and then the bowlers can come through. So I'm going with a 3-0 to South Africa.
Okay, I don't think Justin. Did you see that one coming?
Well, it's what I expected. To be fair, I think. For me, I think it's really important that Ireland win a game and get those 10 points. For us teams down towards the bottom of the table, it's getting quite tight down there, and we really need to get that. And I think we will. I think the great thing is that people are going to be able to see some of the good young Irish players that are coming through. I think with the bat, you're going to see a lot out of Harry Tector, and I think you should expect that. And like I said earlier, to see that through the next few years as well. With the ball, Josh Little is going to be the person you're going to want to watch. He's an excellent left-arm bowler, likes to pitch it short, likes to wind the batsman up. When he dismissed Johnny Bairstow last year against England, he gave him a nice wink as he was leaving the field. And even better news for you, I've just checked the weather forecast, and it looks like it's going to be nice and hot and sunny over the next week. So hopefully we won't get any weather interrupting us. And it'll be some really good cricket being played.
Awesome. Okay, Aaron, take us home. Some guys wanted to hear you say it in the South African accent. I don't know if you can So,
Do you actually want to know a great way that for any viewers out there to master the South African accent? Right, if you can do your Brummie accent like, as if you're from Wolverhampton or Dudley, right, all you have to do, go like this, and then close the lips, and you're suddenly from South Africa. Your brew should be a great series. Right, anyway, so I'll go back
We
to
don't
Norman.
speak like that over here.
Should do. Should be a lot better. But with regards to this series, to be honest, all I want to see is some good batting from Ireland. We mentioned a lot of it already. Can they bat? Can they bat? Why not show it? They've got the talent. They've got the top three to really get some substantial scores. And as Justin mentioned earlier as well, they need a team performance. How good would it be to have a solid foundation from that top three and then just have these supplementary innings from the likes of a Harry Tector, a Curtis Camphor if he plays, a George Dockrell, a Lorcan Tucker? That's what I want to see with regards to this Irish team. With that being said, though, I must admit, I think the Proteas are a lot stronger on paper. I'm not going to predict a 3-0. I never do. I never do, no matter who the opposition are, because cricket is a funny game. We don't know. This is the beauty about live cricket. Ireland could win 2-1, and we could be having a completely different tone of show next week. We don't know until it happens. So for me, I'm going to go 2-1 South Africa. Going to represent the boys. Okay. Got the Proteas shirt out. So, yes, I'm going to go 2-1. Oh, sorry, I've just read one of these. Aaron sounds like someone from an Afrikaans horror movie from the 40s. That's the exact one I was going for. Exactly. Talent. But with regards to the series, yeah, 2-1 South Africa. Hope it's a good series. Hopefully some runs scored. And as Justin said, hopefully the weather's nice. So that all the people in Dublin at the village in Malahide can finally watch some international cricket for the first time since 2019. Bring it on, boys. Bring it on.
Awesome, guys. So, guys, thanks a lot for tuning into our preview show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those things, as well as become a subscriber today. We have a digital magazine. The link is on the screen and the description. This particular issue is themed around Test cricket and red ball cricket in South Africa. So please go ahead and subscribe. All the back issues are free as well. Ultimately, the whole thing is actually free. So just go ahead and download it and become a subscriber today. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. You'll see us again after the game, of course. We're taking a little break tomorrow from content from this side, but on Sunday, obviously, maybe after the game, you'll do a show. I think probably will do a game preview or a review show after the game mixed with our podcast. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys again. Enjoy your weekend and good luck with all the sport that's going to be taking place, of course.
It's coming out.
Cheers, everybody. Cool. Let's go.